I was living 2 or 3 minutes away from Michael. And he said, you got to get over to his house. That's what he told me. And he said, they said he's sick. He's sick and he needs to go to the hospital. And then he called me back again and says, no, go to the hospital now. And that's when I rushed over to the hospital, and my mother got on the phone, and it was just, it was devastating. I lost my way through the hospital. I didn't know where I was going because I was so nervous. And I said, how's he doing? How's he doing? How's he doing? Is he okay? Is he okay? And my mother's assistant, Trent, wouldn't give me an answer. And my mother, I heard her yelling, who is that? He said, it's LaToya. And she grabbed the phone and she screamed as loud as she could. She just said, he's dead. And when she did that, I almost crashed the car. I started crying, and my head went to the steering wheel, and I started begging people on the street to drive me because my legs got so...
Stone magazine, her father would drop hints about people being out to get him, and at some point he was like, they're gonna kill me one day. The magazine says 18-year-old Paris is convinced that her dad was somehow murdered. Absolutely, she says, because it's obvious. All arrows point to that. It sounds like a total conspiracy theory, but all real fans and everybody in the family knows it. It was a setup.
It's no longer the people that froze my account. It's no longer the people that threatened me. We've got past the threats. They tried to throw me in jail for the truth. And, you know, people believe me. And people see that I wasn't crazy on what I was talking about. And they tried to write it off, and they keep trying.
Kanye West exposes big label for taking out Michael Jackson. With the recent new civil lawsuits against Diddy, more and more evidence came out. And among them is Kanye West's claim that Michael Jackson was eliminated by industry leaders. If you are wondering what this claim has to do with Diddy, then you've come to the right video, because this evidence just keeps pointing out how the rapper was connected to Michael Jackson's elimination. And we'll be showing that to you in this video. When Kanye revealed his former personal trainer, Harley Pasternak, tried to institutionalize him, everyone claimed he was crazy. Well, what's crazy is that Harley was later revealed to have previously worked as an intelligence agent for the Canadian military. It now turns out Michael Jackson might have had his own Harley Pasternak in a guy named Faheem Muhammad, who also happens to be Diddy's chief of security. Fahim was mentioned several times in the latest lawsuit against Diddy filed by Rodney Lil Rod Jones, with the producer saying Fahim helped Diddy run a criminal enterprise without any law enforcement interference due to his connection. That's not all. Fahim was the head of his security team, and he had the power to make problems and people disappear. All these were just the start of how Fahim got together with Diddy, his ties to government intelligence agencies, Michael Jackson's war against Sony, his death, and Diddy's connection with Sony's leaders. Everything is just interconnected. Kanye West made the astonishing claim that Michael Jackson was murdered during his Twitter meltdown in 2020. The rapper, who has been revealed to have bipolar disorder, was in the midst of a scathing attack on Kris Jenner when he mentioned his wild theory about the late pop icon.
Can't poison me, and by the way, y'all done already fuck with me so much. Y'all already black mirrored me. You already made everybody think I'm crazy. You already took my family away. You already separated all my friends. I don't got no celebrity friends. Because when I was on TV, on Instagram saying, I don't know where my child is, and the Kardashians kidnapped my daughter in public, and I didn't have the address of my child, none of these that want to say something now.
Michael died at age 50, with the cause of his death being ruled to be cardiac arrest caused by a fatal combination of drugs given to him by his doctor. Jackson's doctor, Conrad Murray, was convicted of involuntary manslaughter in 2011 and served 2 years of his 4-year prison sentence for good behavior. Kanye wrote, "MJ told you about Tommy before they killed him. Kim saved my daughter's life in the name of Jesus. It's God's choice only. I will live for my children, Chris. I'm in Cody if you're not planning another one of your children's Playboy shoots." The musician appeared to reference Michael's fallout with former Sony CEO Tommy Mottola, whom Jackson called a racist and devilish for failing to promote his 2001 album Invincible. Although the tweet has since been deleted, the first part caught many users' eyes, with several clarifying Kanye was referring to Mottola, whom many have accused of orchestrating Jackson's death and covering it up as a cardiac arrest. The screenshots of the tweets still circulated on social media, leaving some fans curious about the alleged beef between the late pop star and Mottola. Sony issued a statement calling Jackson's comments about Mottola ludicrous, spiteful, and hurtful at the time. But West believes in this conspiracy theory, as his tweet shows. Still, there is no suggestion Kanye was accusing Sony or Tommy directly of Michael's tragic death. Theories aside, the label disputes Jackson went through were very real. The bad blood between Sony and Jackson began brewing a long time before 2002, but it went into overdrive when Jackson's expectations that the licenses to the masters of his albums would revert to him fell through thanks to a contract that set the date for this reversion to several years later. The singer demanded an early exit from his contract, and amid all this, his final full-length album with original material, Invincible, dropped. By 2002, things had gotten substantially worse between Sony and Jackson, with the latter becoming increasingly vocal about the situation, prompting Sony to come to Mottola's defense, denying Jackson's allegations and calling him spiteful. They eventually refused to renew their contract with Jackson, alleging that they lost millions of dollars because the singer refused to tour for Invincible. Fans soon shared multiple videos of Jackson from 2002, when he repeatedly referred to Mottola as the devil. One fan tweeted, "Ye is 100% not crazy. This was 11 years ago. I should have listened to MJ Rip. I hope nothing happens to Kanye." Another shared, "Kanye is speaking the truth here." Sony, with Tommy Mottola as president at the time, wanted Michael Jackson to sell his ATV catalog to them. MJ wouldn't. They then boycotted his album in 2001, which led to Michael Jackson protesting against them and exposing them for their filth. Several users were soon jumping in on the conversation, adding fuel to the fire that Mottola may have had something to do with Jackson's untimely demise. Some were extremely blatant with their accusations, stating, "I wonder what Tommy Mottola is up to these days after killing Michael Jackson," while others were not convinced there was a conspiracy here, sharing, "Just for your information, it seems Kanye was referring to when Michael Jackson called Sony executive Tommy Mottola a racist, and then Michael Jackson died under suspicious circumstances, 0.7 years after the label dispute," adding it was difficult to decipher what Kanye's tweet was trying to imply. That culminated in an image of Michael during the demonstration. After Kanye started speaking out on the evils of the entertainment industry and threatening to expose the people who control celebrities, Kanye's former personal trainer, Harley Pasternak, texted him to say he needed to meet him in person and apologize, or he would institutionalize him again and send him back to Zombieland. Kanye later mentioned this text exchange during several viral interviews and claimed he was already almost Michael Jackson once back in 2016 after being placed on an involuntary psychiatric hold and prescribed a high dose of lithium.
That if I had taken the medication, I would not be here, and it would have been, "Woe is, he was deeply troubled. We miss him. We love his music, though."
Well, they would have Britney Spears too. I mean, look at
They would have.
They tried to medicate me. I was exhausted. They wrongly diagnosed me. And when I asked them how much lithium they wanted to put me on exactly, it took them 4 days to answer because they were embarrassed about the amount, right? It was very suspicious then that Kanye's 2016 hospitalization happened after he allegedly suffered some kind of episode at Harley Pasternak's house. But everything is getting clearer now. Now, let's talk about the suspicious details of Michael Jackson's death. During the period leading up to his passing, Michael was preparing for his highly anticipated comeback tour, This Is It, scheduled to kick off on July 13, 2009 at London's O2 Arena. On June 24th, Michael attended a rehearsal at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, arriving around 6:30 p.m. Witnesses, including the tour magician Ed Alonzo, noted that Michael looked great and had great energy. Michael then rehearsed until after midnight and returned to his residence in Holmby Hills at around 12:30 a.m. Given Michael's long-standing struggles with insomnia, he often relied on various medications to help him sleep. And that was why he took his physician, Dr. Conrad Murray, everywhere with him. That night, Dr. Murray administered different drugs to help him sleep while closely monitoring his condition. However, nothing was working. So in the morning hours of June 25th, Dr. Murray decided to administer a propofol injection mixed with lidocaine. This seemingly did the trick, and Dr. Murray left Michael sleeping to use the bathroom. However, when he returned minutes later, he found Michael unresponsive with a weak pulse. Dr. Murray performed CPR for about 10 minutes and administered something to counteract the sedative. But what was strange was that a 911 call wasn't made until 12:21 p.m., almost an hour and a half after the initial discovery.
The jury saw the Michael Jackson we all knew, the king of pop, in rare footage of his last time ever on stage, rehearsing for the This Is It tour, the day before he died.
What about flowering fields?
And they saw this. Michael Jackson in full death mask, on a hospital gurney, killed, say prosecutors, by the unskilled hands and gross negligence of his personal doctor, Conrad Murray.
He left him there, abandoned him to fend for himself.
When paramedics arrived, they conducted CPR at the house for 42 minutes before transporting Michael to the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. But sadly, despite their efforts, Michael could not be revived, and on June 25, 2009, the King of Pop was declared dead. And once the initial shock wore off, the internet became a breeding ground for various theories, with fans questioning the official story. According to the autopsy report, Michael's cause of death was propofol intoxication, and it was officially ruled a homicide.
Fact, by the way, that Michael Jackson did keep a list of people in the industry that he said were his enemies, okay? On that list were people that all happened to be Jewish. So it was lawyer Gloria Allred, music exec Tommy Mottola, Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, you may have heard of him, and I'm going to mention him later, Israeli illusionist Uri Geller, and also Michael Jackson's former manager Dieter Wiesner. Now,
the autopsy report also stated that Michael was in good health for his age, maintained an acceptable weight, and didn't have any heart problems. Contrary to how he was portrayed in the tabloid press, Michael Jackson was a fairly healthy 50-year-old before he died. This revelation comes from a copy of the Los Angeles County Coroner's report obtained by the Associated Press. It shows that the pop singer was 136 pounds when he died, which is in the acceptable range for a 5'9" man. His heart was strong, and his kidneys and other major organs appeared to be normal. The suspicions intensified after the recording of the 911 call made by Michael's bodyguard was released, revealing that Dr. Murray employed non-standard methods of CPR, and he quickly became a suspect.
He's not breathing, and we're trying to pump him, but he's not breathing, sir.
Okay, how old is he?
He's 50 years old, sir.
50, okay. He's unconscious, he's not breathing?
Yes, he's not breathing, sir.
Okay, and he's not conscious either.
No, he's not conscious, sir.
Okay. All right, do you have him, is he on the floor? Where's he at right now?
He's on the bed, sir.
The Los Angeles Police Department and the DEA launched an investigation, but Michael Jackson's fans speculated that the police might be trying to hide something. Reports in the media suggested that the LAPD didn't properly seal Michael's house to prevent mishandling of evidence, a claim later denied by the LAPD. The investigation was narrowed down to Dr. Murray, and he was eventually charged with involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 4 years in prison. However, Jackson's fans weren't satisfied because they believed Murray was just a scapegoat in a larger scheme. Dr. Murray initially joined Michael's team in May 2009 through AEG Live, the promoter for Michael Jackson's final tour. Although AEG Live claimed that Michael personally wanted Dr. Murray, it was later revealed that AEG hired him independently, and Michael didn't even sign the employment contract. Meanwhile, Michael Jackson's younger sister, LaToya, publicly claimed he was murdered because he was worth so much more dead than alive. She also said Michael knew someone was after him, and he knew that everything that was happening to him was not right. It disturbed him greatly, and he kept saying it over and over and over again.
And he knew that everything that was happening to him was not kosher, it wasn't right, and it disturbed him greatly. And he kept saying it over and over and over again. Yes, Dr. Murray was the fall guy, but it's more to it than just that. He named names. He told me people. He told me to be careful.
LaToya insisted the Thriller singer's relatives and fans now deserved the truth about his death. I never had a doubt he was murdered. You must remember from the day that I found out that Michael was no longer with us when my mother screamed, "He's dead," on the phone. I just went into this, who did it? Michael was murdered for his catalog. That's the bottom line. He was murdered for his catalog, and they knew that. And they knew Michael was worth so much more dead than alive. His children deserve the truth. I think his parents deserve the truth, his family and his fans. I think it is a slap in the face, not just to Michael, but to the entire family. It's unfair, it's wrong, and it was not an accident, she added. In 2010, Michael Jackson's family took AEG to court, claiming they negligently hired Dr. Murray. During the trial, Michael's son Prince testified that his dad was pushed to the limit, and he heard him say multiple times that they were trying to kill him. Prince said his father would cry after phone calls saying, "They're going to kill me, they're going to kill me." But despite all this, the jury sided with AEG. However, the jury's decision didn't do much to change the minds of Michael's fans, who remained convinced that MJ was taken out by someone more powerful than Dr. Murray. The theory gained more ground when the Sun released notes allegedly written by Michael in the weeks leading up to his death. These notes included phrases like, "They are trying to murder me," and "The system wants to kill me for my catalog." On one note, the pop star also talked about feeling pressured by AEG and having a bad feeling about his tour. And then, a few years down the line, Jackson's daughter Paris seemingly started pointing the finger at Sony and John Branca, the co-executors of the Michael Jackson estate. Paris liked a series of tweets slamming Sony and Branca, including one that said, "We've been telling you the truth for 7 years. Shame on any of you who sided with Michael Jackson's murderers." There is no doubt that Michael absolutely despised Sony and openly challenged them by first acquiring half of their catalog before leaving and becoming a free agent. He once even held up a sign on stage saying, "Sony kills," and called the then CEO of Sony, Tommy Mottola, the devil and a racist.
It generated several $1 billion for Sony, several billion. And they really thought that my mind is always on music and dancing, and it usually is, but they never thought that this performer, myself, would outthink them.
Yeah!
I own half of Sony's publishing, and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it, but I just did good business, you know? And Tommy Mottola is a devil.
Now let's tie all this in with Diddy and the new lawsuit against him. In the lawsuit, Rodney Lil Rod Jones alleges that Faheem Muhammad was Diddy's head of security, and he had close connections within law enforcement, which made him instrumental in helping Diddy cover up his alleged crimes. According to Lil Rod, P. Diddy instructed his staff to always contact Mr. Muhammad if they were ever pulled over by the police in Miami or California. The lawsuit is 73 pages for a reason, so it didn't end there.
Perhaps the biggest claim is that Diddy and his son murdered someone in plain daylight and got away with it. There's apparently a man that they know, that everyone who works with Diddy knows, that they can call, and they essentially will get everything cleaned up. And they are implicating the...
The complaint continued that Diddy's powerful industry friends employed and empowered him to pay off law enforcement. Now, here's where it gets even crazier. So it turns out that Faheem Muhammad was also the head of security for Michael Jackson, and he was right there that fateful night when Michael Jackson passed away. And get this. When Faheem testified during Dr. Murray's trial, he revealed that he was hired as Michael Jackson's chief of security just 10 months before Michael Jackson died.
How long did you work security for Mr. Jackson?
Approximately 10 months.
And what were your responsibilities?
I was the chief of his security, so my responsibilities ranged from making sure his house was protected, making sure his children were protected, and making sure his day-to-day activities and movement was all safe and planned and mapped out.
He further testified that the music icon's children were witnesses to the frantic final moment of their father's life. While Dr. Murray was desperately trying to breathe life into the king of pop, Paris was on the ground, balled up crying, while Prince was shocked, slowly crying. So he escorted the two children from the room as his fellow bodyguard, Alberto Alvarez, rushed to help administer CPR to Jackson.
Part of the Diddy case to bring across is the fact that the record executives at the very top knew what P. Diddy was doing. They were attending the parties with underage girls where they were spiking drinks. They were deeply involved in Diddy's personal life, and all evidence points to them supporting his operation, or at the very least turning a blind eye.
Alberto Alvarez also testified that Michael Jackson was still alive with his eyes open when he entered the bedroom, but Dr. Murray told him to hide the singer's medicine vials before calling the police. Faheem was the one who sent Alvarez to the room as the chief security officer. Now here's another wild part. Faheem had just graduated college with a business degree when he was hired as the head of Michael Jackson security, and he was either 20 or 21. So are we supposed to believe that the king of pop decided to make a 20-year-old with no experience his chief of security? Well, not exactly. According to journalist Ian Carroll, who recently went viral after investigating the connection between Diddy and Michael Jackson, someone else might have done the hiring on behalf of Michael Jackson.
He was Bill Bray, who was his mentor and basically his father. And the two were extremely close. Bill ran his security until he was 70 when he retired, and Jackson continued to pay his medical bills until he died at age 80. But then once Bill retired, Jackson was then protected by other security people that came and went, and he wound up with this guy who has direct connections to Diddy's blackmail operations, who was directly complicit in covering up crimes for Diddy and covering up murders, covering up drug use, prostitution, human trafficking. This is the guy that was protecting Michael Jackson the day that he died. The day that he was overdosed on drugs after he was probably already asleep, and the only witnesses, there were no witnesses to the crime. I'm honestly kind of surprised that this guy never got checked into.
Ian didn't fail to point out that Faheem might have some ties to intelligence agencies, and fans are now saying he could be another Harley Pasternak, just as I said earlier, or otherwise celebrity handlers, the same way Harley handled Kanye.
And where did I find another article about him? On Penn State, the Wharton School. He didn't attend it as a student. He was invited as a speaker for this Wharton real estate entrepreneurship event, which makes perfect sense. He has a real estate investment company or whatever, but if you've been following along, you would know that the Wharton School comes up an awful lot when we're talking about intelligence agencies and people associated with the CIA and the FBI, etc. Just thought it was interesting that they invited him to be a honored speaker at their event. And now, here's the best part. Check this out. This is in all of his bios, by the way, but we're pointing it out now. In 2008, Fahim graduated from Sacramento State University with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration with a concentration in real estate and marketing. Okay? Do you realize what's wrong with that yet? Anything coming to mind? When did Michael Jackson die? June 25th, 2009, Jackson died from cardiac arrest caused by a propofol and benzodiazepine overdose, caused by his doctor, apparently. Hold up. Hold the phone. Pause. Why is a dude who just graduated college last year with a business and real estate degree the head of security for the king of pop, for Michael Jackson, the most famous musician of all time?
Someone commented on Ian Carroll's video, one other coincidence is that Tommy Mottola sold his home on Star Island, Miami Beach, to P. Diddy. And another user wrote, he is right. Everything the industry did for Michael Jackson was the same blueprint they used for Kanye West. What a sad and corrupt world we live in. Kanye West's claim now makes sense. Although his tweet has since been deleted, the screenshots are still circulating on social media. Kanye didn't fail to expose everything in another interview when he claimed they wanted to eliminate him the same way they did with Michael Jackson. If they did attempt to kill me like Michael Jackson or JFK,
if they did attempt to kill me or killed me like they killed Michael Jackson or JFK, or Aaron, what is the guy's name? Aaron Carter, the guy who wanted to talk to me.
So given what Kanye supposedly almost got about Michael Jackson, fans are now saying there's simply no way all this is just one massive coincidence. Many fans are now saying they 100% believe Kanye was almost killed like MJ, and they are pointing out that this has been happening in Hollywood for ages. One fan said, "This man needs to be protected at all costs, and all those who work with him need to be background checked thoroughly. There are agents within the music industry, and you'd be fooled to think they have your best interest. They will go as far as hiring your family members." Another fan wrote, "This is what the elites do with people that have good influence in the world that they're scared of. First, they tried to shut Michael up. They tried to keep him quiet about the whole Sony situation, but that didn't work. So then they tried to put him in jail, but that didn't work. The final step is to kill, and that's what they did. They then mocked him." Conservative pundit Candace Owens also stirred controversy with her recent claims. She aimed to link Diddy's latest lawsuit to the untimely death of pop icon Michael Jackson. Owens made these assertions during an episode of her podcast where she delved into details surrounding Diddy's legal troubles and what she perceives as a disturbing silence from the media. According to Owens, there's a connection between Diddy's legal woes and the mysterious circumstances surrounding Michael Jackson's passing. This case is arguably bigger than the Jeffrey Epstein case, and yet the media is silent on it. Why? Owens asked her audience on social media.
Yes, Dr. Murray was the fall guy, but it's more to it than just that. He named names. He told me people. He told me to be careful of this one and that one.
Terrifying to consider, but Hollywood and our politicians are being blackmailed into compliance. Furthermore, she pointed to the fact that the man allegedly involved in covering up Diddy's son's involvement in a shooting incident was also Michael Jackson's former head of security and was present at the time of his death.
Hired Dr. Murray. During the trial, Michael's son Prince testified that his dad was pushed to the limit, and he heard him say multiple times that they were trying to kill him.
Prince said his father would cry after phone calls, saying, quote, "They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me."
But despite all this, the jury sided with AEG. However, the jury's decision didn't do much to change the minds of Michael's fans, who remained.
At this point, most of the secrets that have been hidden in the industry will get exposed thanks to the Diddy saga. Which celebrity or industry leader do you anticipate next? Let us know in the comments.